Socialists are winning elections in the United States of America with platforms supporting Medicare for all, gun control, bans on assault weapons, and immigration justice, and calling for the abolishment of ICE, which according to the White House would mean open borders. This presents many problems, but from a prophetic viewpoint, it is catastrophic. Why? Because Bible prophecy reveals that the Antichrist will rule over a socialistic one-world governing body. How do I know? Stay tuned for the answer on today's edition of End of the Age. Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Dave Robbins with End Time Ministries, and I thank you for joining me on Thursday's edition of End of the Age. I trust that you guys had a great 4th of July yesterday and remembering and celebrating the birth of the greatest nation on the planet, the United States of America. And I also want to say a great thank you and recognize the service members, all of our military members that have fought, and many of them have lost their lives. They become, many of them are in wheelchairs and different things, disabled as a result of fighting to protect our freedoms. So I want to say a heartfelt thank you from End Time Ministries to all of you. Without you guys, we would not have the freedoms that we do today. So yesterday we celebrated more than just the birth of a nation, but all of you guys that have fought to keep those freedoms for us and to protect those freedoms. Thank you very much. So, the kingdom of the Antichrist will be a socialistic or communistic world government. That's why I'm talking about socialism today, because in the United States of America, there are socialists that are being elected. And it's really catastrophic. You say, well, why? Well, that's what my program is devoted to, because if you didn't have an understanding of the prophecies of the Bible, then it might be a little different scenario. Even though socialism's never been successful in any society ever, true socialism, it's being soft-sold today. It's a soft sell. People are saying, oh, it just wasn't implemented right, so we're going to try it. Many people are saying here in America, well, we don't want that. Why? Because from a prophetic viewpoint, the Antichrist is going to rule over a socialistic society, a communistic. It's going to be his ideology. And so we need to talk about it. Is that the kind of America we want? And I'm going to prove that he will rule over just such a program, just such a system before my program is finished today. So according to because this is not being taught in schools now, according to my good old 1982 set of World Book encyclopedias that I have in my office, I've written so many articles off of those because the history books are being rewritten all the time. The encyclopedias are being rewritten. And so you got to go back 15, 20, 30 years to get some halfway decent information in some of these because they're being rewritten to push the agendas of today. So according to my 1982 version, socialists believe that national or local governments, rather than the individual, should own a nation's resources and control their use. Totally against what we celebrated yesterday, the Declaration of Independence, as free individuals. Socialism is diametrically opposed to that. Now, if you hear a politician today talk about socialism, they talk about freedom and this, that, and the other. But that's not what true socialism is all about. And we need to understand that. I don't know if there are teachers today that are getting up and saying that, because you got kids coming out of high school and out of college that are totally sold on socialistic principles, which is a very, very bad thing. We don't want that here in America for many reasons. I'm looking at it from a prophetic viewpoint today, or I'll get there for the end of my program. So, socialism calls for public ownership of land, public ownership of factories, and the basic means of production. And you say, well, we're not here in America. Well, if that's one of my questions today, we're electing socialistic individuals into politics who would then guide our society. Is that the kind of America we want? Now, you've probably heard the story of how to boil a frog. You drop a frog into boiling water, and he's going to jump right out of the pan. But on a hot day, if you drop that same frog in a pan of cool, refreshing water, he's just going to sit there. And then you start to turn up the heat. And you slowly turn up the heat to the boiling point, and that frog will sit right there and boil, never realizing that frog legs are on the menu that evening. Because it came in slowly. You set him in a cool pot of water, then turn the heat up slow. Well, that's kind of what's going on. That's kind of the way socialism has crept into America. And so I'm going to be dealing with that all throughout the program today. We do not want, as free, capitalistic American individuals, we don't want socialism here in America. It's not how it's being sold today, but it's what it leads to. It's a very bad thing, and we're going to talk about it because kids are not being taught that in school nowadays.
We are living in one of the greatest times of human history. We are just before the second coming of Jesus Christ. There are close to 1,000 prophecies concerning this time. Yet, the Scriptures tell us that most people will miss the second coming of Jesus. You do not want to miss this. You can understand the times we live in and what is just ahead. You can share the information with others. Know the truth about Bible prophecy. The Understanding the End Time series was designed to help you learn the prophecies in easy-to-understand terms. 14 hours of teaching about the mark of the beast, World War III, Islam in Bible prophecy, and so much more. Equip yourself today by going to endtime.com or call 1-800-END-TIME. That's 1-800-363-8463 to get your Understanding the End Time series. The End Time Prophecy Tour was the most wonderful tour. I would like to thank Irvin and Judy Baxter for a fabulous trip to Israel. I know it took much effort and planning to make it successful. What a tremendous time we all had, which warrants a great big thank you. You can't encapsulate it into words. You can't capture it with a photograph. You just have to experience Israel yourself. The Queen of Sheba said, "The half has not been told." I concur. What an awesome experience to visit the land of Bible history and see it come alive as you walk its paths. I shall be forever changed. Dale from Louisiana.
Join us October 25th through November 5th, 2018. You too can experience Israel with Irvin and Judy Baxter. Go to endtime.com or call 1-800-END-TIME. That's 1-800-363-8463 to sign up today.
You know, everyone, the story of the boiling frog, how do you boil a frog, that's kind of how socialism has crept into America. However, when you look at the topic of socialism, you have to look really not at the beginning, but where it all leads to. Now, I've had people tell me that socialism has nothing to do with communism. Many of you all, my age, maybe a little younger, but my age and onward, will remember communism, the Cold War, different things, and we don't want anything to do with communism. But they say, well, socialism doesn't really have anything to do with that. Well, that's actually a very wrong statement. Some would say that the European style of socialism, that we're not there. That Europe is socialistic, but that they aren't killing people like Stalin or Mao Zedong. But you see, the point is that socialism is not being sold to young Americans as a bad thing now, but a good system. That's why there are open socialists being elected here in the United States of America. 40, 50, 60 years ago, that never would have happened. But the thing is that they're never really told the real goal behind it all. So, Vladimir Lenin, who really, according to Britannica, was the founder of the Russian Communist Party, the Bolsheviks. He was the inspirer and the leader of the Bolshevik Revolution 1917, and the architect or the builder of the first head of the Soviet state in 1917 to 1924. He was also the founder of the organization known as Comintern, or the Communist International, and the post-humanist source of Leninism, the doctrine codified and conjoined with the Karl Marx's works by Lenin's successors to form Marxism, Leninism, which became the communist worldview. Well, Vladimir Lenin famously said, the goal of socialism is communism. So to say socialism and communism have nothing to do with each other, that's a very untrue statement. And let me prove that to you, because I don't know if you realize it or not, but there is a Communist Party USA. You say, whoa, hold on, Dave. We're capitalistic. We believe in the individual, not the group. I mean, that's kind of the Declaration of Independence. We didn't sign a Declaration of Interdependence, a Declaration of Independence. Free individuals pursuing the American dream under a godly set of rules or laws. But there are people in the United States trying to implement socialism and communistic principles, and as a result, you have people over time, it's been a soft sell, going along to the point where in 2018, we're electing socialistic individuals into politics. So the Communist Party USA, where does socialism lead to? What's the goal? Well, the 28th National Convention of the Communist Party USA in Chicago, Illinois, this was adopted as the party program on July 2nd back in 2005. So you can imagine kind of where they're at now in their thinking. The National Committee approved the final text on October 16th, 2005. Listen at this. They state, and I quote, "The future is socialism, a system in which working people control their own lives and destinies." That's not true socialism, but we'll get there. "And together build a better world." The Communist Party USA is dedicated to the struggle for socialism in this country. This document is our party's, the Communist Party USA, is our party's program, a statement of our principles and goals and a guide to action along the road to Socialism USA. Socialism will usher in a new era in this country. Socialism is not a dream, but a necessity to working people's lives. Only socialism has the solutions to the problems of capitalism in this country. The activity of the Communist Party is based on building full class consciousness, which includes socialistic consciousness. The size of the working class and its experience of collective labor and collective struggle prepare it to lead the struggle for progress. In the words of the Communist Manifesto, the working class is the only true revolutionary class, because only the working class has no other interest than ending capitalism completely and replacing it with socialism. Did you hear that? That's one of the main goals, ending capitalism completely and replacing it with socialism. Now, what did I say true socialism was? The state owning the land and the means of production, factories, this, that, and the other. Communist Party USA, what are they wanting to end? Capitalism completely and replace it with socialism. But yet we're electing socialistic individuals into politics nowadays. Now think about this. The United States of America, folks, these qualities, I'm continuing on, quoting, these qualities and experiences also make the working class fertile ground for the ideas of socialism and Marxism and for Communist Party membership. The contribution of the Communist Party will help assure that the anti-monopoly coalition moves on to seeking an end to capitalism itself and the construction of socialism. So they have a goal. They're not here just to say, hey, we're capitalist and we want to live we're communist and we want to live in a capitalist society. They want to do away with capitalism completely. The American dream, gone. That's not socialism. Socialism's not the American dream. A capitalistic society allows a man with some ingenuity and some drive to become a successful individual secularly. That's not what communism, socialism is all about. Communism, socialism, it's about the state, more governmental control. I'll get to that here in a second. I'm continuing quoting. The Communist Party believes it is possible to win a peaceful transition to socialism in the U.S. And they're doing that, folks. We have people running for an election, more than one. I know Cortez just got elected in New York, but there have been more than one. People in Philadelphia and different places electing open socialists. Bernie Sanders, a Democratic socialist. Hillary Clinton, a progressive, which is a socialist. You realize she was one spot away from becoming president of the United States. And so I continue on. The Communist Party aims for a peaceful transition to socialism based on all forms of mass democratic expression and social action, electoral and non-electoral, to win and maintain working people's power. The Communist Party seeks to build socialism in the United States based on revolutionary traditions and struggles of the people of our country. I thought it was supposed to be peaceful. Communists advocate socialism as the first phase of a new stage of society, but we think that social and economic development will end at socialism. We see a socialist society eventually leading to here it is. We see socialist society eventually leading to a higher phase of communism, where the capitalist class and all classes will have disappeared. There's the goal right there. Socialism leads to communism. It's all about control, more government, and control of all the little individuals by the government. That's the goal of the Communist Party. They preach socialism, but they say the eventual goal is communism. It's not where it starts off, but it's where it ends up, everybody. And believe me, I'm getting to the prophetic aspect of this very soon, because the Bible says the Antichrist will rule over a socialistic, communistic, one world governing body. Do we want the United States involved in that? Then my question is, why would we elect socialistic individuals? Great question. We don't want to have any part of a socialistic, communistic, one world governing body. We don't want to be involved in that in the end time going forward. And I'm continuing on. It says they want the capitalist class and the classes, all classes, they want them to disappear and replaced by a commonwealth of all working people, where national and racial enmity and prejudice will be things of the past. Now that's what we're being sold today. Now this is the Communist Party's program that was adopted back 2005, 2006. They adopted this in Chicago. But the fact of the matter is, very few people have ever read this. When's the last time you went to the Communist Party USA, CPUSA, and read their constitution? They're very well organized. And they're trying to implement an agenda here in America, because most of the rest of the world is merging into this one world governing system. And the United Nations was created to be a socialistic one world governing body. So most of the nations of the earth are turning towards socialism. And we were headed that way in very quickly until Donald Trump was elected. Now you understand why the globalists are screaming, because he's not wanting to play ball with their socialistic one world governing body. So let me talk to you real quick about collectivism, because there is a huge agenda today to turn America into a socialistic, part of the socialistic one world governing body. And It's a lot of what we celebrated yesterday. Declaration of Independence. We're America. We're a nation. We're trying to protect our borders. Anybody who would want open borders believes in a one-world government. And so we've got to think about it, because I know elections are coming up. A lot of different things are happening, and we need to be really conscious. Understand what the people the people you're going to elect. Make sure you know where they stand on issues, because we don't want to just usher this in and then we look back 5-10 years from now and go, oh my goodness, how'd we get there? It's because people are going out and voting and don't even know what they're voting for. We got people, and you say, oh, I don't know if that'll happen, Dave. Well, we're electing socialists into politics today. And so we've got to be careful, because the Antichrist will rule over an already established socialistic one-world governing body. There will come a time when he usurps authority over that. And it gets really deep and dark at that point. But I mean, any communistic society, any socialistic, true socialism, not good. So I want to talk to you real quick about collectivism, because that's really what it all leads to. G. Edward Griffin, many of you will recognize that name. He's a writer, a documentary film producer, the founder of Freedom Force International, and he wrote a lot of great books. The Creature from Jekyll Island, which exposed the Federal Reserve, the Capitalist Conspiracy, More Deadly Than War, The Grand Design, the Great Prison Break, The Fearful Master. I remember my father-in-law taking me to hear him when I was about 20 years old. He said, Dave, come on, we got to go hear this guy over in Dayton, Ohio. And I wasn't even interested in any of this stuff at that point. And he said, come on, I want you to go hear a guy talk. Well, it's right after G. Edward Griffin had written the book, A Creature from Jekyll Island. He was traveling around doing book tours and things like that. We went and listened to him speak. I remember way back, and I remember to this day, it's been 30 years ago. So G. Edward Griffin, very influential guy who has exposed a lot of things, a lot of underground behind the scenes, the Federal Reserve, the Council on Foreign Relations, the United Nations for what it really is. Well, he states this about collectivism, and I want you to hear it. He says, communism, Nazism, fascism, and socialism all gravitate towards bigger and bigger government, because that is the logic of their ideology. Under collectivism, all problems must be solved by the state. And believe me, the state is not above creating a problem so that the way they'll be able to solve it, i.e. the United Nations creating the scam of global warming climate change so they can have more global governance of the people of the earth. Because, hey, we've got to solve global warming and climate change, so we need to globally govern every individual on the planet and how much they produce and consume, because there's this huge problem which was just created out of thin air, folks. You understand? And so they're not above creating a problem. So all of these, fascism, Nazism, socialism, they create a problem and then say, hey, the government we need to yield up more of your sovereignty to the government to control this problem. And people have done that throughout history. The more problems there are, the more powerful the state becomes, because people get used to yielding up sovereignty to the government to control the problems. And the problem is once we get on that slippery slope, there is no place to stop until we reach the end of the scale, which is total governmental control. Now, with socialism, communism, that's where we're headed. The Bible is very clear on that. And I'm going to have to move, because I'm going to have to prove that to you before this is over with. So regardless of what you name it, this is G. Edward Griffin, regardless of what you name it, regardless of how we relabel it over time, to make it seem more or new or different, collectivism is totalitarianism. Absolute 100% complete control without the means of resistance. That's why the United Nations and socialists, now listen to this very carefully, socialists, communists, they preach gun control, gun control, gun control. Because it's absolute control with no means of resistance. Why would you want to take away somebody's ability to protect themselves and their family and their home. Think about it. Absolute means of control with no means of resistance. And then G. Edward Griffin says this leads to the stunning realization that communism, fascism, Nazism, socialism, neoconservatism, you see how they're just putting new names on it. Liberalism, the New Deal, progressive. Anybody who's a progressive, progressivism, the Great Society, technocracy, the New World Order, and most of the other political nostrums of our century, they merely are variants of the same thing. And its name is collectivism. Well, collectivism, socialism, communism, that's the kind of ideology that the Antichrist will have. That's the kind of government that he will rule over. Absolute control with no means of resistance. That's the big push for gun control now. You see a politician coming out for gun control, banning ARs, all this other stuff. They're trying to take away the means of resistance. Why would you take away a law-abiding citizen's gun? He's never done anything wrong, but yet you would penalize millions of people for something one person or 20 people have did, because there's an agenda behind it. And we've seen that in all the gun control agendas that have been being pushed recently. And so we're talking about the Antichrist and his kingdom. It's going to be a socialistic, one world governing body. Why would we elect socialist individuals in the United States? You have to ask yourself that. Why? But yet it's happening. Because there's an agenda that's being pushed by people who want to see the United States taken apart piece by piece and remolded in a socialistic mold, and come out on the other side where it's absolute control, no means of resistance. That's what's going on, and I'm going to prove that to you from Scripture when we get back from the break, how the Antichrist will rule over a socialistic, one world governing body. I'm going to go through the entire prophecy when we get back.
Move Mountains with Irvin Baxter, the new book by Irvin's grandson, provides 30 days of devotion that will enhance your connection to God and others. Authentic illustrations from early morning devotions at End Time will help you find your purpose and eliminate fears. Commit to taking this 30-day journey and experience real life change. Order this brand new book for only $14.99. Call 1-800-363-8463 or go to endtime.com/move.
We have some exciting news for you today. We have created a new lesson that exposes the establishment. 3 sinister forces are trying to maneuver the United States into a system of global governance. Who is the mastermind behind these organizations? These forces, which are controlled by Satan the dragon, will work hand in hand with the Antichrist, and Americans are fighting back. What is the master plan? Where do things stand right now? We rip the covers off of Satan's hidden agenda and give you answers to all of these questions in Master Plan of the Dragon. Arm yourself with the knowledge to combat these forces. Go to endtime.com to receive your copy today, or call 1-800-END-TIME. That's 1-800-363-8463.
If your station only carries the first 30 minutes of End of the Age, go to endtime.com and click the watch button to continue today's broadcast. You can also finish up later by clicking the archive button.
Okay, so let's get off into the prophetic aspect of this. Why am I doing this program today? I mean, why do we care if there's a socialistic society in America? Well, there's many answers for that, but I want to give you a prophetic one because it's probably the most important. Because we're not too, if you look at the timeline that the Bible gives us, we're not too far away from the time when the Antichrist will be revealed. So we have to make sure that we're not a part of his system at all. And it's being established as we speak. And so we've got to know the prophecies to know what the future holds, what the Antichrist is all about, what kind of system he's going to rule over, to make sure we do not conform to that at all. Now, we know it's going to be there's going to be a world government. We know that. But how do we know there's going to be a socialistic one world government? Okay, so let's go to the Four Horsemen. You've heard of the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse. The Four Horsemen, the book of Revelation, has a skeletal structure of 3 groups of 7. The 7 seals, 7 trumpets, 7 vials. The 4 horsemen are the first 4 seals of the 7 seals. It's found in Revelation chapter 6, verse 1 through 8. These are the first 4. The 7 seals end up clear over in Revelation 8. But the first 4 seals are found in Revelation 6. And it states this. John said, "And I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seals, and I heard as it were the noise of thunder, and one of the 4 beasts saying, 'Come and see.' And I saw and behold a white horse, and he that sat upon him had a bow, and a crown was given unto him, and he went forth conquering and to conquer. And when he had opened the second seal, I heard the second beast say, 'Come and see.' And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword. And I beheld, and lo, a black horse." So he's seeing a series of horses here in this vision. "And he that sat upon him had a pair of balances in his hand. And I heard a voice in the midst of the 4 beasts say, 'A measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny. See thou hurt not the oil and the wine.' And when he had opened the 4th seal, I heard the voices of the 4th beast say, 'Come and see.' And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat upon him was Death. And hell followed with him, and power was given unto them over the 4th part of the earth to kill with the sword, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beast of the earth." So Revelation 6, 1 through 8 reveals 4 horses, a white horse, a red horse, black horse, and a pale horse in John's vision. So what are these colored horses symbolic of, or are they literal horses? That's the question. Because prophecy's written in symbols. And so some of it's symbols, some of it's literal. You got to know how to go, especially the book of Revelation as a whole, what's literal, what's symbolic. So another account, when you're going to study any topic in Scripture, you've got to go look at all the Scriptures, pull them all together concerning that topic, read them all, and then you get a big picture about what's going on. Well, that's what happens here. Another account of this prophecy is about the 4 horses is given in Revelation 6, 1 through 8, but it's another account is found in the Old Testament in Zechariah chapter 6, verse 1 through 8. Zechariah saw the same colored horses, but in his vision, they were pulling chariots. And additionally, instead of a pale horse, Zechariah saw a grizzled and bay horse. So in Zechariah 6, verse 4 through 5, it tells us what these horses symbolize. This is the big clue. It says, "And I answered and said unto the angel, and he talked with me, What are these, my Lord? And the angel answered and said unto him, These 4 horses are 4 spirits of the heavens, which go forth from standing before the Lord of all the earth." So, what do the horses symbolize? Well, the 4 colored horsemen symbolize 4 spirits. They're not 4 horses that will come riding. I've seen movies where, hey, there's 4 horses that come riding across killing people and this, that, and the other. Okay, that's not what it's all about. They represent 4 spirits that will, just prior to the second coming of Jesus Christ, that will control the ideologies of mankind. Okay, what are they? The black horse was symbolic of the spirit of capitalism. And I'm not going to take time. I've got documentation for all this. I'm not going to take time to go through each of these. I'm going to spend my time on the red horse today. So the black horse, capitalism. The white horse is the spirit of Catholicism in the earth today. The pale horse, the word pale in the King James Version should have been translated, the original word was chloros, which should have been green. So John actually saw a green horse, should have been translated pale or green or pale green. If you look in a Tyndale Bible, he actually translated it correctly, green. And that's the spirit of Islamism today. You've seen if you see an Islamic parade, it's just a full sea of green flags, green bandanas. It's the spirit of Islam today is green. So, but I want to focus today on the red horse. What spirit today would the red horse represent? Many of you have heard this, but I want to make sure, because we're going on to new radio stations all the time, I want to make sure everybody gets it. What spirit would the red horse represent? Well, there's an international spirit who influences what people believe, how they live, and what they do. And it's a very influential spirit in the world today. And this is the spirit that the Antichrist, his kingdom will be built on this ideology. And I'll prove that to you before this is over. The red spirit, you've heard red Russia, red China, red Romania. It's communism. Communism is commonly associated with the color red. We've got documentation for that. I could go on the rest of the day just on the color red and communism. You've seen it. Go look at the flags of the nations. Communists have red flags. Red Russia, red China, all these. So communism has widespread influence over what people believe, their value, what they love, what they fight for. I mean, it's kind of, they'll grip you. Think of communist China today. They tell you what religion, they have state-approved religion. You go to prison if you don't abide by their state-approved religion. We have missionaries that are in China that are underground. They have hundreds of thousands of underground churches in garages, in basements, and things like that because they don't abide by the state-approved religion. Imagine if we had a state-approved religion here in America. Well, that's where total socialism and communism leads to, i.e. China. So each of these colored horses represents the major belief systems of our world. Think of our world today and the major ideologies in our world. One of these four spirits pretty much controls all of them: Catholicism, communism, capitalism, or Islamism. Then Revelation 6, 3 through 4, it gives some more clues concerning the red horse. It says, "And power was given to the red horse," this red spirit, "that sat thereon to take peace from the earth." From the very outset, from the Bolshevik Revolution in 1917 to the China Revolution in 1949 and the conflicts in Korea, Vietnam, Congo, communism has robbed our world of peace. Believe me, it may start out as peaceful socialism, but when it's fully implemented, no peace, folks. This passage continues on by saying, "And that they should kill one another." Not only do communists fight their enemies, but they fight amongst themselves. For example, Stalin, he killed 20 million Russians. The past 60 years, 60 plus years, 60 million Chinese have been killed in the Cultural Revolution. So they killed. And that's the way the Bible says the Antichrist will eventually rule this world for those that have conformed to his system. You don't want to line up, you need to be extirpated or to kill off those individuals. Read Gorbachev's book, Perestroika. He stated right in his book, we need to extirpate religious exclusive individuals. The Antichrist is going to be all about that. The prophecy also says that there was given unto him a great sword. Well, a mighty military force backs communism. The Soviet Union, the flag with the hammer and the sickle. It was all about control. And red is the color most commonly associated with communism and socialism. It's easy to see that. And the two ideologies, they're synonymous, communism and socialism. Communism is the political ideology. Socialism is the economic system that works hand in hand with communism. And this is the red power, the power of socialism or communism. So, that's prophetic. That's prophecy. So let's talk about the prophesied world government real quick, because I'm going to tie, before this is over with, Daniel 7 into Revelation 13 in a way that you may not have heard it before, and then we'll go to Revelation 17. So the world government. About 650 years before John wrote the book of Revelation, the prophet Daniel was given a vision of four beasts that represented kingdoms or nations that would exist at the time, this is Daniel chapter 7, of the second coming of Jesus Christ. The four beasts were in Daniel 7, 4 through 7, and the modern nations, they were symbolized as a lion with eagle's wings, which was Great Britain, the United States. And I know you guys are educated on most of this, but for those of you brand new, I want to go through it. I want to make sure we hit this because this is foundational. And then he saw a bear, which is modern-day Russia. Remember, these beasts symbolize nations. The bear symbolized Russia. The four-headed leopard, Germany. The 10-horn beast, which is very important to what I'm talking to today, is symbolized the reborn Holy Roman Empire or the current European Union. So jump forward 650 years in the book of Revelation, chapter 13, verse 1 through 2. John uses these same symbols of these nations to describe the end-time world government. In John's account, the four separate nations of Daniel 7 have federalized into a large global governing body. So the Revelation 13, 1 through 2 looks like this with the interpretation. And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and I saw a great beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns. Remember that. And upon his horns, which would represent the European Union, were 10 crowns. Upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, Germany. So it had the body of the leopard, the feet of the bear, Russia, the mouth as the mouth of the lion, Great Britain. The dragon, which was Satan, gave him his seat, power, and great authority. So there you have it, a 7-headed, 10-horned beast. And this is a 2,000-year-old prophecy of a world government that's currently being established. So you remember, really clear, 7-headed, 10-horned beast. Well, I tell you what, I got a break in about a minute, so I want to make sure you get this because I don't want to kind of cut it in half, come back from the break, and you're like, what did he just say before that? So to make sure you know what I'm talking about, let me drive the point home. We are electing socialists in America today. And the Antichrist will be he will eventually usurp authority over a one world governing system that's socialistic. The United Nations, totally socialistic. The nations of the world that are lining up to the United Nations and want to comply with her edicts, they're socialistic. If they're not there, they're headed in that direction. And so that's kind of where we're headed. Well, the United States, up until this administration, we were headed there just as fast as they could push us. We had yielded up our sovereignty to the Paris Climate Agreement, the Sustainable Development Goals, a lot of different things in many ways. And now we're pulling out of that, which is a very good thing. We'll continue on when I get back.
If ever people need to hear the unvarnished truth, it is now. There are some subjects that are not politically correct to talk about, but they're urgent. That's why I'm grateful for End Time Magazine. And they see the prophecies being fulfilled right now. You can start your own ministry and leave them in doctor's offices, libraries.
Home to you, prophetically speaking, before the end of the program. So here we go. Remember, Revelation chapter 13, John saw a 7-headed, 10-horned beast that represented the world governing body in the end time. And from Revelation 13, 1 through 8, it describes the world governing beast and the Antichrist that would rule over that. And I'm going to do my best to get to that before we get done. Then in Revelation 17, 3, John said, so he carried me away into the spirit, into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, very important, scarlet-colored, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. You say, what in the world is he seeing? Well, this is the socialistic one world government, that's going to be the kingdom of the Antichrist. So let me explain real quick. Revelation 17 is the judgment of the great whore in the end time, the false church. In 17:3, John sees a vision of a woman, the church, sitting on the back of a 7-headed, 10-horned beast. The beast is scarlet-colored. It's one more clue about this one world governing body. It's the union of politics and religion in the end time. But the one clue is the whole point to my program, a scarlet-colored beast. What's the seven-headed, ten-horned beast? The world government. Why does John in 17 say it's the scarlet-colored beast? It's red. Remember back the four seals we just went through. What's the color red symbolize? It's socialism or communism. The one world end time the government is going that the Antichrist rules over is going to be a socialistic one world governing body. Okay? So let me give you some more clue to drive it home. Daniel chapter 7. And I'm going to read a lot of scripture and then I'll point out some things as we go through here. Because Daniel 7, it correlates so much with Revelation 13. But you've got to understand Daniel 7 before you can understand Revelation 13. That's why Daniel 7 is like one of the very foundational prophecy lessons. You've got to understand that to get a lot of what's coming. So in Daniel 7, let me read you some scriptures and then I'll point out a few things. You remember in Daniel 7 that Daniel sees four beasts, lion with eagle's wings, a bear, a four-headed leopard, and then in verse 7, he talks about a beast with 10 horns that he couldn't explain what it is. He understood that, hey, this one's a lion, eagle's wings, a bear. This last one, he said, man, it's a dreadful beast, and its characteristics was, I don't know what it is, but it's got 10 horns. Well, in verse 7, he says, after this I saw in the night vision, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible, strong exceeding. It had great iron teeth, and it devoured and brake into pieces. It stamped the residue with the feet of it, and it was diverse from all the other beasts that were before, and it had 10 horns. He said, I considered the 10 horns, this is verse 8, and behold, there come up among them a little horn, before whom were 3 of the first horns, plucked up by the roots, and behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth speaking great things. Remember that term, and a mouth speaking great things, because it's mentioned again in Revelation 13. Tells us who it is. Verse 9, he says, I beheld till the thrones were cast down, the Ancient of Days did sit. I beheld then because of the, and so it's letting us know that this entity will be in place at the time of the second coming of Jesus Christ. Then in verse 11, Daniel said, I beheld then because of the voice of the great words, which the horn, this little horn's the Antichrist. I beheld even till the beast was slain, and his body was destroyed and given to the burning flame. This account is also found in Revelation chapter 19, I think it's verse 20, where the Antichrist and the false prophet are cast into the lake of fire. So if you notice in Daniel 7, very important, there's one seven-headed, 10-horned beast. There are beasts that have 7 heads, the lion, the bear, the 4 heads of the leopard, and then the 10-horned beast. So there are 7 heads represented there and 10 horns, okay? But there's one horn that comes up. It's representative of the Antichrist. It's very important that you get that, because when we go to Revelation 13, it's all going to tie in. Then in 19, Daniel 7:19, Daniel said, then I would know the truth of the fourth beast. What was this? It was diverse from all the others, exceeding dreadful, whose teeth were of iron, nails of brass. It devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped with the residue of his feet. And of the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the other which came up, which was the Antichrist, before of whom fell 3, even of that horn that had eyes, and a mouth that spake very great things. Again, the term, that mouth, this horn spake great things, who was more stout than his fellows. So now we know it's the Antichrist. And in verse 21, Daniel said, I beheld, and the same horn, this Antichrist figure, made war with the saints and prevailed against them, until the Ancient of Days did come, and judgment was given to the saints of the Most High, and the time came when the saints possessed the kingdom. And he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon the earth, which shall be diverse from all other kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, and shall break it down, tread it in pieces. And the 10 horns, which is the 10 horns that will arise, this is symbolizing the current European Union. The 10 horns which arise out of the kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise, and another shall arise after them, and he shall be diverse from the first. He shall subdue 3 kings. He shall speak great words against the Most High. There it is again. Shall speak great things against the Most High, shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws. And here, just remember these things as we go through here. And they shall be given into his hand until time, times, and the dividing of time. Or the 3.5 years. So here is depicted 7 heads. These animals had 7 heads, 10 horns, that's mentioned, but also a man speaking great things, which made war against the saints for 3.5 years. So remember that. 7 heads, 10 horns, and he made war against the saints for 3.5 years. Now let's jump to Revelation 13. This is going to tie in perfectly, everybody. And these guys, they weren't contemporaries. These books were written 650 years apart. But in Revelation 13, listen at this. John said, and I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads, 10 horns. There it is again. And upon his horns 10 crowns. And upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, had the feet of the bear, mouth of the lion. Dragon gave him his seat and great power and authority. And I saw one of his heads as it was wounded unto death, and the deadly wound was healed. That's the tearing down of the Berlin Wall. And all the world wondered after the beast. And they worshiped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast. They worshiped the beast, saying, who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him? Now listen at this. Remember back in Daniel 7, the term I brought up, speaking great things. In Revelation 13:5, it says, and there was given unto this Antichrist figure a mouth, speaking great things and blasphemies. And it's the same individual. It's talking about the 7-head, 10-horn beast and the Antichrist, just like it did. The little horn in Daniel 7 was the Antichrist. And it also referred to as the beast and all of them, the 7 heads and the one beast that had 10 horns. The same thing here in Revelation 13. And power was given unto him to continue how long? 42 months. And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name, his tabernacle, and them that dwell therein. And it was, get this, remember Daniel 7, then in Revelation 13:7. And it was given unto him to make war against the saints and to overcome them. And power was given to him over all kindreds, tongues, and nations, and all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him whose names are not written in the Lamb's book of life, slain from the foundation of the world. So again, just like in Daniel 7, you have 7-headed, 10-horn beast, and also a man speaking great things against the Most High, and he made war against the saints for how long? 42 months, which is 3.5 years. It's the same exact thing. It gives 2 accounts of the beast and the Antichrist. He made war against the saints for 3.5 years, Daniel 7. Revelation 13, the beast, which had 10 horns, and you have the Antichrist, which spoke great things against the Most High, and he had power. He made war against the saints for 3.5 years. 42 months is 3.5 years. Same account in Daniel 7 and Revelation 13. And the Bible says in, I'm coming up to the end here, so I want to wrap it up. If you look at these 2 accounts, the 7-headed, 10-horn beast, the Antichrist, made war against the saints for 3.5 years. Both accounts. Then you go back to Revelation 17:3. And John sees a vision, again, of this woman sitting on this scarlet-colored beast. So we know that the Antichrist will rule over a red beast, this scarlet-colored beast, this socialistic, communistic ideology. That's what he's going to have. What's so big about socialism, communism? Remember the beginning of my program, I give you the definition. It's all about bigger government, absolute control by the government, and everybody else. You say, well, hold on, I thought socialism was about wealth redistribution and equality and all of that. No, that's absolutely not what it's about. It's about equaling out all the players out on the playing field, but the government sitting back and running all of them. So it's not about everybody on the planet being equal. That's not what it's about. It's about the government saying, we know better how to run your life than you do. And that's what the Antichrist kingdom is going to be built on. That's going to be the ideology that he sets forth, is that, hey, I know how he's going to usurp authority over this world governing body. The world governing body will be fully functioning at that point. After World War III, we'll move off into a fully functioning one world governing body. Thankfully, we know from the prophecies of the Bible that at least the United States, Jordan, and Israel will not come fully under the reign of the world governing body in the Antichrist. Revelation chapter 12:14, that the Israel's protected on the wings of a great eagle, where she is nourished into her place for times, and the dividing of time, 3.5 years. So while the Antichrist is stomping and breaking in pieces and conquering and trying to thumb down on everybody on the planet, there will be pockets of resistance, i.e. the United States, Israel, and Jordan. We know that scripturally. So it's very important that we understand and tie all these prophecies in together. And then you have to sit back, look at it on a grand scale. Look at the big picture and say, okay, we're sitting here in 2018 in the United States of America. What kind of nation do we want to go into looking forward? Well, that's why you have to understand the prophecies. The Antichrist is going to rule over a socialistic one world governing body. Do we want to be a part of that? Absolutely not. So the question is, why would we elect socialistic individuals into our government? I don't understand that. People have to not be able, they don't understand socialism and communism and collectivism and where all this stuff can lead to. In the beginning, man, it all sounds great. Free health care for everybody, free welfare, all this other stuff. Well, I can tell you nothing's free. It's all based on a lie, everybody. It's a license for people to steal. Because if you're going to tax somebody just because they've become wealthy, they've taken risk and they've become wealthy and they built a factory or whatever they've done, and they've got some money, now you say, well, under socialism, that you've got too much money. You're a have, not a have-not. So we're going to steal from you and give to the poor. I believe in helping the poor, but not stealing from people to do that. So it's all based on a lie. And the end game is control. That's where the Antichrist is headed. That's his system. We here in the United States don't want to be a part of control. The only one I want controlling me is the Lord, Jesus Christ. That's who I look to. I don't look to government for the answers to the problems. I look to Jesus Christ to the answers, and then that's how we want our nation ran. That's how it was formed in the beginning, and that's how we want to go out, folks, trusting in the Lord Jesus Christ for every answer.
This has been End of the Age, brought to you by the faithful partners of End Time Ministries. If you're not currently a partner with End Time Ministries, or if you would like more information, we invite you to call us at 1-800-END-TIME. That's 1-800-363-8463, or visit us online at endtime.com.
Thank you for watching. If you liked this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel and like our Facebook page.